course, North Texas has a lot of football families. In Plano, we meet the Michelsons. Son Connor is a quarterback for the Plano Wildcats, a really good quarterback. In a recent game against Flower Mound, Connor threw for 407 yards and was responsible for 6 touchdowns, 4 throwing, 1 running, and 1 receiving. But throwing is a Michelson family tradition, as you'll learn in this week's Family Affair.
I played at Trinity through, I guess, the 79 and 80 seasons, graduated in 1982. Played for Coach Lineweaver when I was a sophomore, and we went 9-1. Then my junior and senior year, I was moved up to, played on the varsity team. And those 2 years, our regular season, we went 9-1, so we always, my whole time through high school, we went 9-1 in our regular season, which was always very good. We were always competitive, always winning big games.
Growing up, I just heard all about it. He always wanted me to be a quarterback, and that's just something I love to do. He's always grown up throwing the ball with me, and that's always been my position. I always want to be like my dad.
Ever since he was young, he always liked playing, and he always liked coming out and throwing the ball with me, and it was always fun because that was always a position I loved, and then it got me out, loved the game, and I got to get outside and throw the ball with him a lot and get to coach him as a little boy.
My dad really did a good job of, just getting me ready fundamentally, and, my release, my throwing motion, all that kind of stuff, and leadership as well. He taught me everything I knew, so I'm really fortunate.
He always enjoyed getting involved in the game with the family, with the game, and it's a big part of our family and family tradition.
It gets pretty crazy because everybody in the family is, all athletic and all football players, so, we get some great touch football games in.
We tease all the time, me and Connor, and he'll ask me how did Trinity do, and I always say, did they play?
There's definitely some kidding around about me and my dad. It's a big game, it's his alumni, and he's a proud alumni, but he was obviously rooting for me and encouraging me, but there's still some little bit of teasing and everything. When
it comes down to Trinity, especially the last couple years that he's been on the team, and last year when he started, it's tough. I mean, you always want your old high school to do well, but it was always behind my son. Anytime they play, it's going to go down to the very end. He would be the 3rd generation to go on and play in college and football, and that's a goal. The most important thing is his education. I mean, that's why you go to college, and playing the football is a goal of his. Right now, I'm looking real hard at the Ivy League schools, Harvard, Princeton, Yale, and stuff like that, and also some local stuff. Would be hugely proud if he can get into one of the schools. Right now, academically, he meets all their criteria because he does real well in the classroom. And so for us, it's really about what do you want to be when you grow up, and what kind of college meets your needs. And if he can play football there, that's great. If not, then he'll live with that and do something else.
What a great story. But now we turn to a more serious subject: player injuries. 2 weeks ago, a Molina High School quarterback was seriously hurt during a football game in Dallas. It has some people torn between love of the game and the danger it holds. TXA 21's Bud Gillette has more.
Just live a regular life.
Jared Williams tells me his long-term goal is the miracle of walking again. His short-term one is to get enough upper body strength to get around totally by himself in his wheelchair. He was left a quadriplegic after a helmet-to-helmet hit during a football game last year. And then a year to the day after his accident, another player on the very same field suffered massive.
It was like, okay, now it's my turn to help out somebody else.
Jared was among the first to visit him before DeAndre went into surgery.
Well, I just told him a couple things, that I'll be here for him if he need anything, and just keep his faith and don't give up.
The kids are definitely getting bigger and faster. They're training to hit harder.
Dr. Paul Sadi has been in sports medicine at all levels. He says even in high school, collisions are high energy.
Even without it increasing in frequency, the very severe and sometimes life-threatening injuries are going to be part of the game.
It seems as if it would be an epidemic, just why is this happening?
Still, Jared, his mom, and Dr. Sadi all love the game, even with its dangers.
Still the greatest thing in the world.
Now, concussions are also a concern for football players. In fact, some signs of a concussion may not be apparent until hours after the event. Look for symptoms like a headache, dizziness, mental confusion or disorientation, slurred speech, or even double vision. And seek medical attention immediately if you observe any of them. And with us now to talk more about player injuries is Bill Borowski. Bill is the coordinator of the Baylor Sports Care Outreach Program. Thanks for joining us. And specifically, let's talk about some of the things athletic trainers do at the high school level, Bill. And I know they are trained to be first responders in cases like the one we saw there.
Yeah, first of all, I wanted to send our prayers out to the families of the victims that you heard about and similar families that are in the same situation. But I think when those injuries are rare, but when they do occur, I think it's paramount to have somebody trained in emergency medicine on the sidelines. Baylor Sports Care provides athletic training outreach. We provide athletic trainers to schools to help them with that. They're trained in the recognition, management, and referral, if necessary, of injuries, catastrophic and other injuries.
Now, specifically when an injured player is not moving on the field, what is it that the trainers, what's their first actions in a case like that?
First thing, and the reason why they're so important, is that when you go out there, people have a tendency to freak out and get nervous and stuff. I think the best thing to do is be calm and be systematic about it. The first thing you want to do, obviously, is assess for any life-threatening things. Make sure their airway, breathing, and circulation are okay. If that's okay, you want to stabilize the neck until you can rule out any kind of spine injury. And so you go through a systematic thing, and they're trained in that when they go to school. They do drills on it, and so they're very good with that. And that's why I think it's just paramount that we have more athletic trainers out on the sidelines.
And what range of interaction might a high school athletic trainer have with the parents of an injured athlete?
Oh, that's a good question. I think that's the most rewarding part of the job, because parents have questions and they're concerned about their child and their well-being. That's the one thing that's a constant I've seen across everywhere. Everyone's worried about their child. So when we contact people, and we like to establish relationships with our parents, and when we call them to communicate with it, they have questions, they have worries, and try to disseminate those, talk to them about what it is they're worried about, tell them about the injury, educate them, and then work on the proper course of care. And the thing that I always tell our staff is that the way to do it is to think of how would I want it to be if it was my own child.
And to contact Baylor Sports Care, it's 1-800-4-BAYLOR.
Absolutely. Ask for Baylor Sports Care, and that goes right to our line. If you ever have a question about injuries, we have a concussion management program. We do outreach in the schools. We're communicating with them. It's a big family. I think the communication team is really what's important.
All right, Bill Borowski, Baylor Sports Care, we appreciate it. Who are the current leaders in North Texas football? When we return, it's time for a Landry Award update. VYPE TV continues in 2 minutes. Here's this week's Landry Award Watch presented by GMC, starting with Mac Morse, the quarterback from Richardson Pierce, with 2,018 yards and 14 touchdowns already this year. How about wide receiver Gerald Thomas from the Colony, already with 48 receptions and 8 touchdowns on the season. And running back Jay Ajayi from Frisco Liberty, who's committed to Boise State, 1,450 rushing yards and 26 touchdowns. Thanks for joining us this morning. We'll be back next week at 10:30 to bring you the best stories in North Texas high school sports. Before we go, we wanted to show you a performance from the Mansfield Summit Drumline. Have a great day.